Welcome to the Magnificast, a podcast about Christianity, leftist politics. I'm your co-host, Matt Bernico.
And I'm your other co-host, Dean Ditloff.
Folks, we're all the way here together in Scotland. You're not going to believe it, but we are in the same room recording the podcast. A rare event.
You can probably believe it based on the quality of the audio.
Okay, good point. Dean, what have we been doing?
We've been doing it all. We've been climbing mountains. We have been chasing fairies through glens. I've learned is a big thing in Scotland.
They love it here.
They love it. I've been learning about Presbyterianism. I've been seeing, I saw a Protestant cathedral with a Catholic saint inside of it. It's a wild thing over here altogether.
That seems like it should be against the rules, but it's not. It's very much within the bounds of the rules.
I like that it's not. I think it's a good symbolic future of ecumenism. The Protestants can take care of our saints, and we can, do whatever else the Catholics are doing here in Scotland.
It's incredible. Yep. If you ever get the chance, go to the cathedral in Glasgow, and you can see this great Catholic saint in the Presbyterian cathedral.
Okay, wait. He is Saint Mungo, a person I'd never heard of until just now. Mm-hmm. And he's great. He has 4 big miracles, and I can't remember what all of them are, but I'll tell you the most important one, really the only one you have to know. There was a rich aristocratic lady, and she was accused by her husband of adultery because she had lost her ring, and he was like, "You probably gave that to your lover." So she went to St. Mungo about it. And St. Mungo was like, "Don't worry, I know just the thing." So he goes to the river or something. I don't know all the details here, but he gets he gets a fish. And guess what? The fish had the ring the whole time. And that is how he proved that she didn't commit adultery. And what a great miracle. What a great saint.
It's bonkers that somebody who is doing adultery would give their ring to somebody else. That seems like a misstep.
Yeah, that would be a huge mistake, but she didn't commit it. And St. Mungo, the great saint detective, did discover it.
Yep, pretty cool. So we've been doing all kinds of great stuff in Scotland, seeing it all, seeing all the great cities, seeing all the great mountains. And then next week, we're going to go to Rome. That's pretty wild. Dean's going for work. I'm just going because it's fun. So you'll maybe get another weird episode with vacation energy.
With Pope Francis on it.
Yeah, that would be ideal. Maybe we'll get him on the show. I'll go over there and just see if he's busy or whatever.
Yeah, you can all tweet at him in the next week or so and just kind of see if you can build the momentum to get him on the show.
Oh my God. Gonna get you fired from Catholicism. Cool, Dean. Well, since we're here and nothing really is happening in the world, we thought we'd bring our real youth group energy to the podcast once again. Last week we had a Magnificast lock-in, and this week we're kind of gonna be riding the same energy. So I gathered together 3 questions that have some similar content, and then I think we'll just answer them. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first question is from a Reddit user. This one's a little bit old, but it says, "Will we still be human in heaven? We are made in the image of God and are made to be like him. We will be given new bodies. Will these bodies still be human, or will they be something else?" A great question. Mm-hmm. Dean, what do you think about this one?
Well, it's testing the limits of our theology. Longtime listeners to the walk-in will remember that we have dealt at length with the question of what bodies will be like in heaven. And I think I got to admit, this one is really throwing me for a loop. The official systematic theology of resurrected bodies on the Magnificast so far has been that you get a perfectly spherical body. And heaven is sort of like a big pinball game, I think we said at one point. I don't know.
I think I said that.
It's all quite old in my brain. But anyway, the point is you have a big sphere. And the question is that sphere still human? And I want to say yes, but it's so hard because a sphere is not quite human.
I would say spheres are inhuman. So here are 2 ways of answering this question in this thread that I think are really important. Okay. So one person says, no, because we won't have DNA. Right. So if our spherical bodies, which are perfect, don't have DNA, which is imperfect, then we won't be humans.
I don't know about that. What if you had DNA that told your cells how to make the perfect sphere? Why not?
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking to Jurassic Park, and what is DNA but just little spheres stacked together?
True. Spheres all the way down. Spheres on spheres.
Okay. The other way of answering this question is that because we're in heaven and our bodies will be perfect and glorified before God, that we'll be fully human, even more human than we are now.
More spherical, you might say.
I would say that, yeah. Okay. So those are the options, I guess, yeah.
Right. Okay, those are the... here's what I'll suggest. Why don't let's just allow this question to kind of linger until we get to the end of the other two questions, and maybe the next two will allow us to really adjudicate whether or not the spherical body is in fact human.
All right, I'm here for it. Okay, here's the next question that is definitely not similar in any way. When we die, do we immediately get our new resurrected body in heaven, or are we a spirit? Okay, so this person asks, this is 15 days ago, by the way. I have so many questions. If y'all can answer one by one, I'm sorry if this isn't the right sub for this. It is. This is the right sub. You're in the right place. How are we going... Sorry, the grammar here, again, is crazy. How are we going to be seeing, touching, feeling, hearing without our nose, eyes, and I feel if we left our bodies in heaven? Okay.
All right. I got
so,
it.
Dean, in heaven, how are we going to be seeing, hearing, feeling, and touching? Mm-hmm. I mean, the perfectly spherical bodies is an answer to this, but what do you think?
Well, the feeling part is easy. I feel like that's probably the easiest thing a sphere could do.
It can bump into things.
Yeah, I think there could be a means by which it would also receive light. That's fine. Hearing is a little tougher. How does the sound get into the sphere and bounce around in there?
That's true. Isn't there a planet in Futurama where there are the big bouncing orbs?
Yes, that's right. And Fry and Bender do join the army to fight them. And they seem to be able to hear. Yeah, that's probably the closest thing to our theology of the afterlife is that episode of Futurama, and they negotiate with the head of Henry Kissinger, so I think it's probably fine.
Seems good. Somebody has written what is at least 3 to 5 page essay response, and they are trying to lay these answers to these questions out, and I don't want to read them, so let's just skip it. Let's go to the next one. This one's definitely different though. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I'm ready.
Is this similar? Okay, according to Revelations 1:12 through 6, it in case you aren't familiar with this Bible verse, it does explain in detail sort of like what the return to Christ looks like. His hair is white like wool. His eyes were blazing like fire. His feet were bronze, glowing like a furnace. Do you think that that's similar to what our glorified bodies will be like after resurrection? What do you think?
Well, see, this is when he came back to Earth, right? If I remember, he comes back, and what I have to imagine is when your spherical body does enter the atmosphere, it goes through a handful of changes, and that is what makes it appear like you have woolen hair and so on. This is the real Platonist theology at the core of this theology. And when Jesus goes back to heaven, he'll kind of crumple back into a big ball.
Oh, now that's interesting.
Yeah.
No one's ever said that before.
Yeah, that's probably right. First time it's ever been said in human history.
Okay. Pretty good. In the comments, someone said they're just citing 1 John 3, which says that whatever Jesus looks like, we'll be like him. So that could be it in there. Dean, I feel like we're kind of coming up a little bit shallow on these questions. We have, of course, our ideas about the spherical body, but are there any other wise people of church history that have any answers to this question?
Yeah, well, you're in luck, Matt, because as a person with a PhD in philosophy, I know exactly where to look for this kind of thing.
Okay.
And it is to the great doctors of the church.
Oh, hang on. Let me crack it open.
Yeah.
The great doctors of the church. I have all their books right here before me.
Yeah, right. And what does it sound like when you crack open those big old books?
Creak.
Right. Yeah, you heard it here, folks. He opened it and it creaked. So St. Augustine, the one of Hippo, he has a lot to say about this question in particular. What is our big resurrected body like? And so just to pull back the curtain to get out of the bit for a minute, this
I'll never do that.
Sorry, I'm drawing a curtain right now between Matt and the microphone, so it's just me and you, dear listener. Matt's on the other side. He doesn't know what's going on.
What?
So these questions about resurrection were prompted by the fact that I had a stray memory that one time I remembered reading in some theologian somewhere that your fingernails and your hair come back to you when you resurrect in the body. And guess what? That stray memory was true. All right, I'm pulling the curtain back. Matt, here we are.
We're back in the bit.
Yeah, we're back in the bit. So yeah, St. Augustine, he has a lot to say about this very question. And here's a question I'll ask you, Matt. Let's say throughout your life, your body goes through many changes. Don't worry, this is not the talk. It's just a talk. Your body goes through many changes, and things fall off of it. That's pretty yucky, but it just is what it is. Every day things are falling off. So many things fall off of it. Things like your fingernails, things like your hair. And a question I would ask you is, what happens to those things when your body resurrects?
That's a great question. Well, a perfectly spherical body wouldn't have any of that, I would assume.
And why would you assume that? That seems like a big leap to me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just don't. I mean, that stuff is yucky. It's bad. It's gross. So my perfect spherical body wouldn't have any of it. It would just be spherical and smooth like an orb.
All right, well, let's test this thesis against St. Augustine, and I want to see if our spherical body theology survives the scrutiny of the Church Fathers.
Oh boy, we might have to do a lot of backtracking here.
We'll see.
Be careful what you say, because the parents will come after us.
I'm going to try really hard not to backtrack. That's going to be the thought experiment of this episode. Okay. Here's what St. Augustine says in the Enchiridion, a great book about love and many other things, including these weird body stuff. He says this earthly matter, which becomes a corpse upon the soul's departure, will not, at the resurrection, be so restored that the parts into which it was separated, and which have become parts of other things, must necessarily return to the same parts of the body in which they were situated. Don't worry, I'll decode this in a minute. Though they do return to the body from which they were separated. And here's the important part. Otherwise, to suppose that the hair recovers what frequent clippings have taken off, or the nails get back what trimming has pared off, makes for a wild and wholly unbecoming image in the minds of those who speculate this way, and leads them thus to disbelieve in the resurrection. So quick pause.
Okay.
Augustine's admitting that, yeah, it would be pretty yucky if you did get all your fingernails back and you just became a person with, 10-foot long fingernails for no reason. No. You wouldn't like it so much you wouldn't even believe in the resurrection, I bet.
I probably wouldn't. You're right.
But don't worry. Augustine has us covered.
Oh, good.
He says, take the example of a statue made by fusible metal. Okay, you have that in your mind's eye, all right? If it were melted by heat, or pounded into dust, or reduced to a shapeless mass, and an artist wished to restore it again from the mass of the same material, it would make no difference to the wholeness of the restored statue which part of it was remade of what part of the metal, so long as the statue, as restored, had been given all the material of which it was originally composed. All right, you're with me so far?
Okay. Yeah.
You're the statue in this analogy. It's really important. Okay.
No, I get it.
He goes on to say, and it will make no difference in the restoration whether hair returns to hair or nails to nails, or whether the part of this original matter that had perished is turned back into flesh and restored to other parts of the body. The main thing is that the providence of the divine artist takes care that nothing unbecoming will result. So here's what Augustine is saying. Who knows what's going to happen to these nail clippings? They could go anywhere. They could be a cooler ear now. They could be a bigger knee, maybe. The point is, God won't make it yucky. That's the key.
So you die.
You die.
I'm talking through hypothetically here. So you die. One dies.
Right.
Something happens then.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about that part. It's not important.
Nobody knows.
It's true. No one knows about that part. The part with your nails and your hair, we know about that. Though.
Yeah.
Okay. The resurrection happens.
Right.
God takes all of your stuff in he has a little baggie. All of your stuff is in it.
No, wait. Imagine you're Goku. Okay, you've died, and now you're Goku, and you're kind of going Super Saiyan. So you're kind of like sitting at the top of a mountain, and you have this big aura. It's sort of a magnetic aura, and all the toenail clippings of your entire life, and all the hair that you've ever cut over your entire life are sort of magnetically coming to you as your own hair gets bigger and bigger. Okay,
no, that's really good. I like that a lot. It's a little bit confusing because a statue, it's all made from like one thing,
right?
Humans. They're made from a few different things.
True, yeah.
So
can't argue with that.
I feel like this is like the worst platonic dialogue. Okay, no, so I get it. So we're not perfectly spherical, but God will take all of our stuff.
Well,
okay, no, it doesn't say we're not spherical. It doesn't say what shape the body takes.
That's right.
All of our stuff will become one thing.
That's exactly right.
No, okay. So now I'm hearing you. Now this makes sense to me.
Yes. So what I'm saying here is exactly what you said. Nothing in here says we're not spherical. In fact, Augustine goes as far as to say we've got no idea what happens to these nail clippings. All we know is that it's not going to be ugly. And what is more beautiful than the perfect divine sphere? I'm saying this proves our theology.
It's going to not be ugly to God.
Right.
So it could be ugly to us.
I'm not seeing that in the text.
Okay. I mean, if God thinks it's good, it must look good.
Yeah, I think so.
Could God make something so ugly that even he thinks it's bad?
He goes on to say so many other things in here, many of which, as you could guess, are quite problematic.
Yeah.
He does say in here also, this is pretty wild, nor does it follow that the stature of each person will be different when brought to life anew, because there were differences in stature when first alive, nor that the lean will be raised lean or the fat come back to life in their former obesity. But if this is in the Creator's plan, that each shall retain his special features and the proper and recognizable likeness of his former self, then the matter of which the resurrection body is composed will be so disposed, and none shall be lost, and any defect will be supplied by him who can create out of nothing as he wills.
So there was another episode that we did of this, I don't know when.
Yeah.
Years ago, where the question was, like, would you recognize other people in heaven?
Right.
And if there were aliens, would they go to the same heaven? And we concluded that you would go to heaven with the aliens,
right? But
nobody would know who's who.
Right.
And this seems to support that theory.
I think so. And again, there's nothing that says if you looked a certain way on this side of death, you'll look the same on the other side. So I think there's enough room in this text to say, yeah, you're going to be a sphere.
You're going to be a sphere. You could be a really big sphere.
You could, I mean, you'd have to.
Personally speaking, I've had a lot of fingernails in my life.
Like, if I imagine myself as a sphere right now, that sphere is definitely smaller than the sphere that it must be, incorporating all the fingernails that I've lost that I can't imagine.
I wonder... Yeah, okay. I was going to say some more upsetting things about spheres and fingernails, and I'm not going to anymore. Okay, Dean, that's just one theologian. That's August. You know, it's just he's great.
Yep.
And nothing wrong with it at all.
Yep.
But like that's just like one guy, and we know that he's also a complete weirdo.
For sure.
Is there somebody in the church who's smarter than him that might have an opinion on this?
Well, okay. I'm not going to say who's smarter than who, because when I do get up there with all the rest of the spheres, I don't want to be kind of like bounced around by these guys. But I will say there's another very smart guy. You probably heard of him, St. Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, gosh. Really?
He's in the mix. And guess what? He also has a lot to say about this in the Summa Theologia in question 80 in particular, talking about the integrity of the bodies in the resurrection. There are a handful of really... intriguing table of contents titles here. I'll just read a few.
Okay, please do.
Question 1. Will all the members of the human body rise again therein? Fair question. We all have that question. Many people on Reddit, as we know, have had that question. Question 2. Will the hair and nails?
Like specifically that.
Question 3. Will the humors? Will all the yucky goop inside of you also rise again?
Right.
It's really important for medieval people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few other things in here, but I really feel like 2 and 3 are the key. Will the hair and nails...
I appreciate will the humors, because that is my next question. Is like, if my nails and my hair are there in the spherical body,
will the boogers?
Will my boogers be there? Will my goop be there?
Yeah, and boogers, I mean, it's part of the phlegm, which we know is one of the humors, so naturally it is an important question.
Right.
Well,
so what is it?
Okay, sorry. I'm so excited about it. All right, so here there are a number of very funny objections. First of all, I'll just read one of them because it is great. So if you've never read the Summa Theologia, first of all, what are you doing? You got to get out there. You got to read these questions. They're so important.
You do not have to do this.
You have to do it. It's you're definitely not going to regret it. The way that it is structured is Aquinas takes like 4 objections to his great ideas.
Yeah.
So that he can prove to you that he's kind of dealt with the argument.
That's really kind of him.
It's very kind of him.
Very charitable.
Some of the objections are extremely funny in every question. There's a lot of great objections. This one starts with a good one. Objection 1. This is to the hair and nails question. It would seem that the hair and nails will not rise again in the human body, for just as hair and nails result from the surplus of food, so do urine, sweat, and other superfluities or dregs. But these will not rise again with the body. Neither, therefore, will hair and nails. pretty solid objection, if you ask me.
That's something that I'm wondering, personally.
Yeah, there are a number of other ones, but we'll not go through them.
I'm going to actually type this up for Reddit and just post it.
Yeah, that's great. So Aquinas responds very simply, on the contrary. And this is the kind of apologetics that you should be taking into your daily life.
William Lane Craig could never.
That's right. On the contrary, it is written, Luke 21:18, a hair of your head shall not perish.
Oh,
so
point.
Game over.
It's in there.
Further, he says, hair and nails were given to man as an ornament. Now the bodies of men, especially the elect, ought to rise again with all their adornment, all your beautiful hair and nails. Therefore, they ought to rise again with the hair, he says. There's many other parts here. He replies to every objection in turn. You could write a great kind of theology going through all of them. I'll give you just a few of his replies to the objections. So the reply to objection 1 that I just read is, those superfluities, like piss, those superfluities are voided by nature as being useful for nothing. Hence, they don't belong to the perfection of the human body. It's not so with the superfluities with nature reserves for the production of hair and nails, which she needs for the protection of the members. So pee, it doesn't help you at all. Poop, it doesn't help you. It doesn't look good. It's not protective. It's not a great armor. Like my fingernails are great armor, and therefore you're not going to have it.
Okay, great point. Fine.
Boom, roasted. Reply to objection 2. Never mind. That one has to do with seed, and obviously we can't go there. Especially if you're going to post this on Reddit. That's too much.
Of course.
The last reply he says is, hair and nails are nourished and grow, so it's clear that they share in some operation which would not be possible unless they were parts in some way perfected by the soul. So if there's a part in your body that's kind of growing, you know it's good.
Sure.
That's what I like to tell myself when I notice something new on my body that was perfected by the soul. Don't worry about that. I don't need to tell the doctor about that one. Lots of other things in here, but the ultimate point here is, yes, the hair and nails will resurrect because they're beautiful and they're great armor. And because of that one Bible verse.
Okay, so Augustine thinks that you get your hair and nails back, but maybe they go, that little bit of the clay of yourself, it goes somewhere else. Who can say?
Who could say?
But it'll be there, whether you like it or not.
For sure. God will like it, and that's what matters, whether you like it or not.
Thomas Aquinas, he thinks they come back specifically.
Yeah.
But, like, in their form.
Yeah, I guess that's right. There is a disagreement here. That's right. Augustine's like, who knows what you look like? And Aquinas says, you know exactly what you look like. A guy with great nails and great hair.
No, long hair and long nails.
Great nails and great hair.
I just imagine Thomas Aquinas' heaven is just like people, but they don't wear clothes. They're just shrouded by hair.
Right. They all look like Jeremy Fragrance. And they all smell like Jeremy Fragrance.
Okay, Dean, this is all really interesting to me. I'm really picking up what you're putting down. This is answering a lot of questions for me specifically. Here's something that I am staring at right now in this big book that you've not mentioned, and I think it's actually kind of messed up that you've skipped this part.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so the very first thing that Thomas Aquinas says here in question 80, whether all the members of the body will rise again, that is an interesting question because...
Yeah, okay, I did skip that part, and you're right. Maybe I shouldn't have. That's true.
Yeah, okay. So in this question... all members of the human body means like every single part, right? Like which parts of your body will come back? And Thomas Aquinas has a really interesting objection number 1 here. And I would love to know what you have to say about it. So, okay, this is the objection. It would seem that not all members of the human body will rise again. For if the end be done away with it, oh my gosh. For if the end be done away, it is useless to repair the means. Now, the end of each member is its act, and since nothing useless is done in the divine works, and since the use of certain members is not fitting to man after the resurrection, especially the use of genital members, for then they shall neither marry nor be married, Matthew 22:30, you know that one, it would seem that not all of the members shall rise again. So what do you think about that?
Well, I do think, just out of concern for the parents, I probably shouldn't just shoot from the hip on that one. Yeah,
ask your parents what they think about this.
However,
question.
I will take one great objection out of this section that I did mean to read and highlighted but forgot. Objection 2 says, further, the entrails are members, and yet they will not rise again, for they can neither rise full, since Thus, they contain impurities.
Okay.
So you won't, you're not going to rise having to go to the bathroom right away. Nor empty, since nothing is empty in nature. Therefore, the members shall not all rise again. All right, so that's one objection.
Okay.
You can't be raised having to take a dump.
Mm-hmm.
That's absurd.
Mm-hmm.
And surely you also can't be raised not having anything in there, because nature would never allow that. Don't worry. Aquinas has a great, literally one sentence answer for this question.
Okay, great.
He says the entrails will rise again in the body, even as the other members, and they will be filled not with vile superfluities, but with goodly humors.
Okay, so here's the thing. So the response that we're getting here is that you have genitals, but they're just like better.
Right.
They've got the good stuff in them.
Yeah, that's right. So here's kind of the monstrosity that's emerging here. If you put Augustine and Aquinas and our spherical theory together, after you resurrect from the body, you do resurrect as a perfect spherical orb, but also you are hairy, you are covered in fingernails, and there are good humors coursing through the entrails inside of your spherical ball.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Ideal.
Seems yucky.
It doesn't seem like what I want, but I don't know. Who am I to say?
I think this is an Aristotelian deviation. I think Aquinas, he's getting too wild with it. We should have had the Platonic sphere. Everything was going fine. We didn't need any extra.
An Aristotelian deviation is like the it's like the philosophy version of your revisionist.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. We're so far down the road here. The question of whether or not you will have humors is a great one. We already know that you're going to have good smelling humors.
Okay, the question about humors is so wild though, because so your humors, in case you're not like up to date in the most cutting edge medieval thoughts about like what's going on in your big body,
mm-hmm.
Your humors are like just sort of the balance of things in there, like your phlegm, your biles, you know, all of it. So You'll have the good holy phlegm and not the bad holy phlegm.
That's right.
The snot that you'll have in you, it's good.
Yeah, and the black bile's good, and the yellow bile's good, and the blood?
The blood.
Yeah,
the blood in the air.
The blood, which is also
your
air.
Sanguineness.
That's right. That's right.
Your blood would be really cool.
Aquinas goes on to talk a little bit more about this, by the way, making sure that everybody knows that you are quite humid, as he puts it. The body has a lot of humidities inside of it, which feels right.
Yeah,
I feel
I agree.
Pretty
that
humid.
Makes sense to me.
In fact, there's a threefold humidity in human beings. There's one which occurs as receding from the perfection of the individual, either because it's on the way to corruption and is voided by nature, for instance, urine, sweat, matter, and so forth.
Wait, so those things are all sinful?
They are receding from perfection.
Okay.
Is what I would say.
All right.
Having read a paragraph just now.
Yeah, okay.
Or because it is directed by nature to the preservation of the species in some individual, either by the act of generative power as seed, don't tell your parents about that, or by the act of nutritive power as milk. None of these humidities will rise again because they do not belong to the perfection of the person rising again. So don't worry. Your pee, it's not coming with you. Your sweat, it's not coming with you. And also, your milk and seed, they're not coming with you. So,
I'm so glad.
I hope that makes you feel a little bit better about this orb.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's another humidity. Who cares about that? The important one, though, that I do want to talk about is the third kind of humidity, which is that which has already reached its ultimate perfection that nature intends in the body of the individual and has already undergone transformation and become incorporate with the members. This is called gluten. And since it belongs to the members, it will rise again, just as the members will. So you will not be a gluten-free orb.
You'll be a glutinous orb.
You'll be a glutinous, hairy, fingernailed orb, coursing with good humors.
Yeah, the gluten is what's going to do it for you.
The gluten is definitely what's going to.
So there's pizza. You. There's pizza in heaven.
You are a pizza in heaven. You're basically a pizza ball.
You're a ball of dough in heaven.
Yeah, you're essentially a pizza roll.
It complicates things.
It feels like what heaven would be. A lot of pizza rolls kind of bumping around.
Baking in the light of God. Rising.
That's right, rising.
The yeast within us.
That's right. Even bigger than you could have imagined.
Oh my gosh. This is such an interesting revelation to me into this podcast, I think. These guys had a lot of... There's a clear theological thing going on here, right? Like when they're talking about... We probably should have said the insightful thing a long time ago. But like when they're talking about the importance of your fingernails and your humors and your sperms and whatever, whether or not...
Sorry, your seed.
Sorry, your seed. This is a rebuttal against a particular type of heresy that says that you have a sort of a spiritual body, not a physical body.
Right.
This is an affirmation of materialism.
That's right. This is Marxist theology. Exactly. It's materialist theology. This
is what Marx is talking about. Yeah. You're a big ball of dough in heaven. You're a big
pizza ball. Yeah. Whatever happens afterwards, that's probably the closest that our science, church science, can get to.
Right. And now let me say this here. This is not my opinion as a guy on a podcast. This is the opinion of St. Thomas Aquinas.
Right. That's right.
Bring this to your pastor.
Bring this to your pastor for sure. Actually, okay, do bring section 80 of the Summa to your pastor and ask. Don't give him the answer, or her the answer, or they the answer, or them. Don't give anyone you talk to the answer first. Just ask them, when I resurrect in the new heaven or earth or whatever, will I have fingernails? Will I have hair? And what will happen to all the fingernails and hair I had before I got there? And see if they get it right. This is the test to find out whether or not they're in the good book.
This is like such a funny way to make a Catholic priest hate you. I mean, Protestants, it's so easy because they'll be like, oh, I don't know anything about Thomas Aquinas. He's not my guy.
Yeah.
Even though he's a little bit your guy. But your priest, if they don't know these answers, yikes.
Yeah, the risk, though, it's a great way to make a certain kind of priest hate you. It's also a great way to make another kind of priest really like you.
Yeah, really proud that you know something about this.
That could go either way because, I don't know, finding a priest who has this memorized could be awesome or a weirdo.
I'm thinking about it.
Be normal, guys, as Pope Francis said.
Be normal. Don't write this kind of stuff down, please.
Yeah, man. Okay, we were going to talk about other stuff in this podcast, but
it's too far gone.
We're obviously not going to do that.
There's no way to pivot from this to something serious.
I do think, though, somebody needs to write a book about just like the monstrosity of medieval bodily theology, because it is, first of all, actually awesome that the response to Gnosticism is like, yeah, all the yucky stuff in your body, don't worry. Some of that yucky stuff, it's not coming with you. We affirm that. That's too yucky. No pee in heaven, 100%. But some of the other stuff that you think is yucky, your toenails, your hair, I don't know. They don't say this, but presumably your teeth, your eyelashes, I don't know where it kind of starts and stops. But
if Augustine's to be believed, you get all your teeth back.
You get them all.
You get your baby teeth, you get your adult teeth.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay. So wait. According to Aquinas, you have a lot of humidities. I don't know how much the humidities theory kind of comes back, but just thinking about, you've got some humidities. They're like on the way to perfection, but you void them into nature.
Right.
Is that spit. Spit. Is that like your baby teeth? Is your baby teeth?
Are they voided into nature?
Because are they receding from perfection?
Yeah, because you lose them, right? I don't know. They're sort of participating in perfection in a way.
Yeah, and also you lose like your hair and fingernails.
Yeah, it seems like they recede from perfection quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Aquinas has it sorted out. Augustine, I think, has it figured out. I think he's like, all I can say is you get it back.
There's a comfort to that.
Yeah.
Augustine kind of knows that you get it all back. It comes all back into you. And it might be something different.
That's right. It could be a bigger nose.
Is there... Now, I don't know enough about Augustine to even know anything about this, but there's sort of a univocity of being here where like all of your stuff is just your stuff, man. Your teeth, your spit, it's all coming back.
Yeah. I mean, he is not a university guy, but there's maybe some haunting stuff in there, some Plotinus sneaking around.
It's hard not to say so.
That's true, boy.
You can get him into trouble.
There's a theological graduate student who just heard both of us raise that question and is so mad.
Yeah, I know.
And listen, hello. You can send us an email and tell us. That's fine. I'll read it. I'll read that email.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not a university of being person, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I just have some questions. I just have some honest questions I want to raise about Augustine right now, and I think he's on the right track. But I think it does get you into some interesting philosophical positions to think that.
Right. So we're gonna go to Rome next week, and when we're there, we need to find the right bishop. Just like speeding between synod meetings or whatever and corner that guy and be like, hold on, sir.
Just like people do to politicians about like about their position on like climate or whatever. You took money from an oil company.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
What happens to my teeth when I resurrect?
Right. A sort of walk and talk. We'll get that microphone in his face, do some real kind of YouTube journalism.
Bird dog these priests.
That's right. Into really telling us what happens to our nails and hair.
I mean, there's got to be a lot of priests kicking around there, just to ask.
Oh, for sure. Okay. Yeah. Side note, there are a lot of priests there. I also told Matt I discovered that the Waldensians are still in existence, and they're also there in Rome. If you don't know who the Waldensians are, before there was a St. Francis, there was a Walden. He was a wild guy. Lots to say about him. He was kind of a St. Francis type character, but he ended up being declared a heretic. He left. And then there were the Waldensians, a bunch of weirdos who liked this guy Walden, and they are still around, unlike many other kind of heretical sects from the medieval period. And they have an office in Rome, which I think is actually wild that the Waldensians are out there. So maybe we go ask them and then kind of sort of get, we canvass a bit of the spiritual community of Rome, and then we figure out who's got the best answer to the fingernail hair question.
That sounds good. If anyone else has any good answers from a theological perspective, I guess you can let us know. Mm-hmm. We're open to all interpretations, but the interpretation does have to support the claim that we do become spheres.
Is there has to be a database out there that just collects like ancient like church father stuff in one gigantic control-F-able PDF.
Oh, there is. No, there is for sure. There's the ethereal library.
Okay, and you can just control-F nails.
I think there's a search.
Okay.
We'll have to do some more research on this. We'll come back to you, dear listeners. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We'll come back to you with more information about what happens to your hair and nails. But you keep them. You keep them for sure. We'll come back to you with more information about what happens.
Two doctors agree.
Two doctors agree about this. Thanks for listening to Magnificast. If you like what you heard, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/themagnificast. Our intro music is by Amari Armstrong. Our outro music is by The Logical Spoon. And we'll see you next week when we're in Rome.
Church in the morning, souls alive. Heaven come to earth and there won't be no church. We'll meet down by the riverside. There we'll swim with all creation. Never get tired, never bored. Don't worry, someday there'll be no dam between us and our Lord. Jackson, keep your hoods up. Keep your hoods up and you stay up late in Jackson.